Hey everyone, my name's Gabrielle and I'm a fourth semester nursing student, so I graduate this year, December 2020. Today I wanted to make a video on 5 tips to surviving first semester. I kind of learned these either halfway through the year or at the end of the year, and I felt like these 5 things helped me to prepare for the second, third, and this last semester. And they're not trivial tips, they're just little things that maybe you don't notice until you're done with your first semester. So I kind of want to just help out those who are starting on their nursing journey, or they're interested in nursing school and they're currently doing their prereqs, because some of these can help you in your prereqs, not just nursing school. So if you want to find out what my 5 tips were to surviving first semester of nursing school, then just keep on watching. To start off, tip number 1 is sitting in front of the class. So before nursing school, I was that student who sat in the back of the class, and if I couldn't sit in the last row, I was making sure I was getting close to that last row, because I did not want to sit in the front. I don't want to get picked on. I don't want the teacher to see me. None of that. But when I got to nursing school, the very first day, no, I didn't sit in the first or the second row, but I would usually try to aim for at least the second or third row, because for one, your teachers notice you. So if you ever have issues, and honestly sometimes when you're at the end of the semester, you may be that 0.1 or 0.2 to get to an A or get to a B. If your teacher sees you every day in that first or second row or third row, that's gonna make them be like, you know what, she was in class, she was always prepared, she was paying attention, she was always listening. So number 1, that helps with that little grade bump. Number 2, it keeps you accountable and it keeps you awake, because you know that your teacher's looking at you. You know your teacher's gonna call you out if you're texting, if you're falling asleep, if you're talking to your friends, if you're doing anything but listening to them and what they're giving instruction on. So I find that sitting in front of the classroom helps a lot with just keeping your attention, and I find that I learned a lot more because I was so focused and I was paying attention to what they were saying. And also, you kind of separate yourself from the back of the classroom where people are always talking, people are chit-chatting, people are watching Netflix, people are sleeping. You separate yourselves from those group of people, and you're really kind of in your own bubble of other people who want to listen and who want to learn. And that's really important in nursing school, because you need to listen to all those details that the teacher is saying. They might give hints on what's on the test that's coming up. So it's important that when you go to class, that you're paying attention from the start to the finish, because you don't want to miss anything, because when you go home, you're on your own. So sitting in front of the class is my number 1. Tip number 2 is making friends in nursing school. No, these don't have to be your lifelong friends or become your best friend, but just making friends, whether you're in class, you're in clinicals, you're in skills class, is really important just to help you carry on through nursing school. Because at the end of the day, the people who you're in nursing school with are the people who are going to understand you the most. They know when that test is coming up, they know when clinicals are, they know when your skills check off is. They just understand what you're going through at that point in time. And also, I found that making friends with people in my nursing program allowed me to reach more resources, because that person may know somebody who's in second semester, who's in third semester, who may have more notes from when they were in first semester that maybe we didn't get when we were in class. So sometimes branching out and getting to know other people and talking to other people might actually benefit you in getting you more notes and more resources to help you study, especially in that first semester, because it's a whole new world. You're trying to figure out how to study. You don't know if you should read the book and do this and do that and do that, or just do this or just do that, and you don't really figure that out until the second or third test, and you're like, oh, okay, now this makes sense, now I need to read this book and I need to do this. But having those extra notes, because a lot of times those notes that come from other students are a little bit more concise, and you know a little bit more on what to focus on. And again, making friends just helps you through the whole experience. You're going into a profession where you want people who understand what you're going through. You want people who understand when you're talking about all these disease processes and how cool it was when you found a vein, and when you're doing certain skills, because they're going to be just as excited as you are. And not to say that they're going to take the place of your family or your boyfriend or your other friends, but it's just going to be a place where you feel like you can really just talk to someone and they understand what you're going through. So tip number 3 has to do with clinicals. So I know in my first semester of clinicals, although I had already worked in the hospital, I was still nervous. Being in clinicals is completely different than if you already work at a hospital, because you have your instructor who's looking over you. You're required to do assessments that you've never done before. So it's a whole new world, even if you're already used to being in a hospital. So what I found very beneficial in clinicals is really just getting to know your professor and making sure that you're asking them questions, that you're seeking out opportunities, because down the line that will help you. Because I know at my facility, at my program, a lot of our clinical instructors, sometimes they move around to other semesters and they talk to other instructors. So you don't want to be that students where it's like, oh, I never knew where she was at. She was always somewhere. She never came and spoke with me. Like, I don't really know much about her. You want to be that student that is always finding the professor, hey, I don't understand this, or, I'm really trying to do this assessment, but I'm not understanding what I'm looking for, what I should be listening for, where I should be listening, how I should be listening. You want to ask those questions, because then your professor can come in and take the time to show you, well, maybe if you place your stethoscope here, or this is what you should be listening for. It's going to help you later on in other semesters when your clinical instructors are requiring you to be more independent. Because by second and third and fourth semesters, your instructor is going to give you your patient and they're going to be like, all right, come back in 2 hours with your assessment. I want a full report on your patient. What is the plan for today? And that's not the time to be trying to play catch up, because at that point, now you're really wanting to do skills. You don't want to waste time learning how to do your assessment. So you really want to use first semester to seek out those opportunities to master your assessments, to master your vitals. And you want to ask smaller, other questions that you have about just being in the hospital. So what's the routine for a nurse typically? When we come in for clinicals, what is the first thing that you want us to do? What should we be aiming for? What time should we have things done? And that way you'll learn how to do your organization. You'll learn when things are supposed to be done, when things are happening, so then you can know what time you should be in your patient's room. Like, professor, what time do they normally do med pass? Okay, 10 o'clock. Make sure you're in your patient's room at 10 o'clock so you can know what medication your patient's on. And if possible, have your instructor there, so if you have questions on medications, she's readily there available to explain things that you may have questions on. My 4th tip is joining clubs or getting involved in programs that your nursing program is hosting. So at my school, we have the Nursing Student Association, which is a board that consists of a president, a vice president, 2 secretaries, a treasurer, a historian, and an editor. And we are basically in charge of making sure that we have volunteer opportunities for our students. We represent our program, so we go to these volunteer opportunities and we make sure that we're representing our program in a professional manner. And again, if you're not interested in being on the board, I do recommend at least going to the information meeting and just seeing what they have to say about the program, because in my instance, even though we had people who weren't interested in being on the board, we still had volunteer opportunities for them to be included in some of the activities that we were doing. For example, every year we have a day that's called Day in the Life of a Nurse, and we have a local high school that comes to our program, and we simulate what it is to be a nurse for them, because they are currently in a medical program at their high school. So we host a whole day for them, and they do, nursing activities with us, and we teach them more about the nursing profession. But as a board, we don't have enough people to host an event that big. So what we do is we reach out to the student body, and I recommend that you get involved in things like that, because for one, it looks really good on your resume that you're involved not just in schooling and your book work and clinicals, but that you're involved in your community. Because as nurses, when we graduate, you're not just nursing for your hospital, you're nursing for the community, for the people around you. So it's important that you get involved with not just learning the material, but putting it into action and volunteering in your community. So doing things like that. We also have other volunteer programs where we go to the children's hospital. We help out with blood pressure screenings on our campus, and things like that will really make you stand out also to the faculty. So when you graduate and you need that reference letter, even if you're not on the board, if our professor who's in charge of our board sees that you're always there, there's no issue for her to write a recommendation letter for you, because she sees that you're always there, you're always involved, and you're ready to help. So it's always good to reach out and see what programs, what volunteer activities your program is having, what clubs they're having, and just make yourself, if you can, available to help out at those events and programs. All right, and my fifth and final tip does have to do a little bit with studying. So again, before I was a nursing student, I was that student who, like I said, sat in the back of the classroom. I didn't really read the books. I kind of just read the notes and read what I had, took the test, and I would do fine. But in nursing school, it's not like that. When you go to class, you are getting the bare bones of the material. Like, you are getting the skeleton of that disease process. You are getting the skeleton of those medications. So it's your responsibility to go home and read the material on your own and use what you learned in class to help you understand it. So I learned real quick in first semester that I need to read the book. I need to read the book. I need to read my notes. I need to read the professor's PowerPoints, because it's the only way that everything's going to come together and make sense. So I learned at the end of first semester to second semester that it is imperative to read the book. Although it's a lot of reading, what I have found is that when I'm reading, if I come across something that I know I have a really, really good understanding on, I will move forward, because I don't want to waste my time reading something that I already have an excellent understanding on. So it's important that while you're reading, you know for yourself what you already know and what you don't know. So you need to make sure that you're focusing on stuff that you don't know. And what I found is easiest is while I'm reading, I'm making my outline, I'm making my notes, so that way when I close the book, I don't have to reopen that book again, because I've already made my outline and I've already made my notes. It's already there, it's done. The book can get pushed aside until the next unit. So it's really important that you read the book, because also nursing professors like to pull questions and material from the little boxes, from the pictures, from questions that are in the book. I don't know how many times I've taken tests and some of the questions that were in the review section in the book were on the test, because they know that people aren't reading the book. Even though they tell them to, they're not reading the book. So only those few students who made sure that they read the book get the answer to those questions. And another thing, along with reading the book, what I have found easiest is, for example, in my program, we use the medical surgical book a lot. So I ordered the book off of Amazon. Although I have it online, I get very distracted if I have to read on my computer, because there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's YouTube, there's FaceTime, there's everything. So I would read a paragraph and be like, oh, let's go on Facebook. Then I'd read another paragraph and be like, oh, let's go on Instagram. Then I'd read another paragraph and let's go on YouTube. And then I would get lost in YouTube, and there goes my reading. So I found it easier for me to buy the book, and that way all I have in front of me is the book. I have the book and some notes, and that's it. So there's no distractions, there's nothing. Just to recap, tip number 5 is read the book, and if you're like me, just buy the book. Just rent it for the semester. It's cheaper than just buying it outright, because I know I'm not going to use the book again. So I would just rent it outright for the semester, which would be like around $30. read it for the semester, and then I would return it, and that improved my grade alone by like 1 whole letter grade. I'm not even kidding. So again, tip number 5, make sure you read that textbook. All right, thank you so much for watching my video on 5 tips to surviving nursing school. Please leave any comments or questions that you have down below. And again, thank you so much for tuning into my video. I would really appreciate it if you subscribed and liked my video. It would really help me out. And again, thank you so much, and have a good day, and good luck on your nursing journey wherever you're at in it.